This is Akin, aka Jack the Truth. I'm delighted to be joined by the head of Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith. How you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you. Very excited about this show.
I have to say it was refreshing to see you alongside Barry Hearn. There's been so much talk about Dazn, etc., etc. I've spoken to him about Dazn. I've spoken to you about Dazn and your relationship with Sky, and it seemed to be a very good relationship. Him sitting down with you at the table, talking about the future of Matchroom and Sky.
We have a great relationship. I adore Barry. I adore Eddie. We've worked together for many years. Remember, Matchroom and Sky go back to the very beginning with Sky Sports. It's not just boxing, but we've been involved in all sorts of sports, and you can see the way darts has just grown through the years, and many other events we have, from Fisher Mania to ping pong to all sorts we have. Snooker we've had over the years, pool with Matchroom, and so it's not just boxing, but I've worked with Barry and formerly John Wischusen and the Matchroom team right since the mid-90s. So it's been a great relationship, and only in the last sort of 6-7 years when Eddie's got involved, it's become, that the sort of juggernaut that boxing is today, the halcyon period, because Eddie's put huge amounts of work and energy into it, but Barry is always there for advice, and it's a fantastic father-son relationship, and we're delighted to work with him.
I have to ask you about the pay-per-view model, and Dillian Whyte being the only other genuine pay-per-view star in London. Do you think that hinders the caliber of opponents that he can fight, because he's not prepared to have stay busy fights if he's required to fight as a box office star?
You're not required to fight at all as a box office star. We look at each and every event and decide whether we think it's Sky Sports box office. So he chose Oscar Rivas, who is a very dangerous opponent, and we believe that, coupled with obviously David Price and David Allen and other big fights on the card, will make a terrific night. One of the most enjoyable Sky Sports box office nights we've had in the last sort of 12-18 months was last summer, when he fought Joseph Parker and Chisora fought Takam, and we had a fantastic night. So we love having Dillian Whyte on Sky, but we look carefully at the Sky Sports box office events, and we very strongly feel that with the big card on the night, this is a good one. And we've got Anthony Joshua obviously on June the 1st, and this on July the 20th. We haven't had a box office event since before Christmas, where it was Whyte and Chisora. So it's no guarantee of anything, but it's great to have him on Sky Sports box office and back working with us. Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting fight, because he didn't need to take it, and it's a very dangerous one for the position that Dillian's in. Oscar Rivas is an unheralded opponent, but the more people look into him and the more you see of him, you'll realise how big an obstacle it is for Dillian on July the 20th. He's athletic, he's fit, he's got pedigree, he's got huge ambition. I like him a lot.
It definitely will be an interesting fight. Nobody expected him to do what he did against Brian Jennings. And do you think that he might be underestimated a bit by people that haven't had the opportunity to follow his career?
Yeah, I think Yvonne Michel mentioned it. Not a lot of people know about Oscar Rivas, certainly over here. The other side of the pond they do. Canada and America are well aware of him. He's come up the quiet route, and he's ready for his opportunities now. Will he beat Dillian Whyte? I don't know. You got to say Dillian would start a favourite, because he's been experiencing higher levels as a professional. But it's a fight he didn't have to take, and I, for one, as a fight fan, am very glad he did take it, because I think it makes for a really engaging night. You add in Allen and Price and everything else that's going to be delivered. Really excited about it.
June the 1st, Anthony Joshua. Do we have any update on the potential opponent, and how does that affect potential pay-per-view buys? If we don't know, if the public don't know who he's about to fight, will there still be an interest, do you think, from the general public? I know it's a silly question. It's Anthony Joshua, but did the network?
I know you're saying that. I think Anthony Joshua's got his support base already. He's the biggest and best heavyweight in the world. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fans would disagree, but certainly in marketability factor, there's no question. AJ is a brand in himself, and the New York debut, Madison Square Garden, the American adventure beginning is fantastic. Are we disappointed that Jarrell Miller is not going to be in the opposition corner? In one way, yes, because he was unbeaten and he was a Brooklyn boy. But VADA is there for a reason. He failed numerous drug tests. He shouldn't be fighting. The right outcome. And in less than 5 weeks, Anthony Joshua will step in the ring against a different and maybe potentially more difficult opponent. We've worked hard behind the scenes. There's a lot of opponents out there that want the shot, that want the money. I spoke to Anthony last week. I was up in Sheffield and we talked Luis Ortiz, we talked Andy Ruiz, we talked Trevor Bryan, we talked Deontay Wilder, we talked all sorts. He said line them all up on the same night. He'll fight anybody. I think Andy Ruiz is probably the right sort of opponent. He's got quick hands, a little bit like Jarrell Miller. He'll be very competitive. He wants it. He's got a good record, and probably of the ones that have been mentioned, he fits the bill. But I think there's a few I's to be dotted, and I will wait for the development of that. But I imagine something will be announced within the next couple of days.
I have to say, you did say something that got me a little bit excited. You said that he could potentially be fighting a more dangerous opponent, and of the names mentioned, Luis Ortiz is the only one that fits the bill. Everybody thinks it's dead in the water. Negotiations are done. Is that fight still viable?
Listen, I'm not privy to the negotiations that Eddie and the teams have. I just hear what he tells me. I mean, Luis Ortiz certainly was in and amongst it. Whether he is anymore, I'm not sure. I mean, it's a very difficult fight to take at short. I think as the days tick on, the fact that he's been training for an orthodox fighter, and I was up with him and he was working with good orthodox sparring partners last week. I don't think a switch to a southpaw would necessarily be the right move at this moment. It's a very dangerous one. Will he fight Luis Ortiz? Yes. Will he fight him on June the 1st? I think it's probably unlikely, but he's been in the mix.
Well, Adam Smith, I really appreciate your time as ever. Thank you for talking to the Boxing Voice. Thank you.
Take care.
Feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, Entitled, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.